Hello there, my name is Carl. Welcome to my workshop and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is going to be Harrison Mill Resto 23, and today we are going to be looking at all of the work required to start rebuilding the Y-axis. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So we're going to start rebuilding the Y-axis, but I've actually spent most of this morning, or the morning, cleaning things. So the first thing I had to do was clean up my garden because we had Storm Floris make itself felt here yesterday. So there was a bit of a state in the garden that I had to sort out. The next thing I did was clean the lathe after all that brass turning yesterday. Now, I really like turning brass. It turns beautifully. It even makes someone like me look competent when I make things in brass on the lathe. But what a pain it is to clean up afterwards. It's almost as bad as cast iron, but not quite. So let's have a look. The other thing I've been doing cleaning is cleaning parts that I'd previously cleaned but weren't clean enough. So we'll have a look at some of the parts for the Y-axis. Not quite related to the Y-axis, but more to the Z. We've got the way wipers, so they've had a good clean, and a wire wheel. And I cleaned the rubber section there just in warm soapy water. Here we have the strips that hold the saddle onto the knee casting, onto the ways underneath. So they've got a gib inside them, taped on here. There's the gib there, look, you can see it. That's the gib for one of them. That's the right hand side. And grub screws run up through the bottom of these strips to give some pressure on the gib. And I've got some new grub screws. Oh, I wonder what that was outside, sounding like a ghost. Next door neighbour's grandchildren, I think. Yeah, so I've got some new bits for them as well. These dodgy looking things, believe it or not, that's how Harrison made them. Look at that. That's another part of the securing for the saddle, which I'll show you in a minute. That's the old lead nut. I've got a new one, and we'll talk about that in a minute because it does need a bit of work doing to it. Right, going over to the machine, we've got the keep for the Y lead screw, which has thrust bearings in there, and we'll talk about that in a minute when we have a look at the drawing, which inevitably I'm going to do. Show you what needs to happen on the drawing. There is the new lead nut set up in the vise of the mill drill. That needs some work doing to it, but I'll talk about that in a minute, as I said. And there is the 5/8 double start lead screw for the Y-axis. Right, so we'll get the drawings out and we'll have a look at some of these parts and see how they all go together. So here we are looking at this drawing again. These films are starting to take on a certain element of deja vu, aren't they? I think you could probably go through any of these films and stop somewhere and you'll see this drawing. But anyway, moving from left to right in the Y-axis assembly, we've got the handle for the hand wheel here that you might remember I posted that my brother had straightened for me with his gas. So I haven't got that back off him yet, but we'll get that soon. Here's the hand wheel. Here's a brass bush that fits inside the graduation dial here. Then we've got the 51102 thrust bearings either side of the keep. Then we have the 5/8 double start left hand lead screw. Then we've got the lead nut here, which is secured into the saddle using a 1/4 UNC bolt, cap head screw, and this top hat bush goes in the top of the saddle and the bolt goes through that. There's also a hole in this lead nut which leads all the way through to the threads, which is used for directing oil from a nipple on the saddle into the threads, and I'll show you that in a minute when we start getting into the assembly. Then we've got these strips here which have got gibs in them, which attach or secure rather the saddle to the ways on the knee, and they bear on these small ways underneath. And then we've got these clamps here which are secured onto these studs which fit into the bottom of the saddle, and these are used for locking the saddle in position by tightening the two big nuts on those two studs. We've also got this cover plate here. Now this cover plate basically fits over this slot here, and it's to protect the recess here, or the cutout in the knee where the two gears are for the Z-axis, to prevent any swarf or dirt from falling down there. And there's like a little slot in that for the lead nut to run in, and there's also a cutout that the lead nut kind of engages in, so that as the lead nut moves it slides this along with it, and I'll show you that as well in a second. And obviously then we've got the not quite really sort of anything to do with the Y-axis. We've got the wear wipers here for the Z-axis. I'm going to put them on as well today. There's another set of wear wipers here for the Y. I'm not going to fit them just yet. We'll talk about them at a later date. But those are all the parts that we're dealing with when it comes to rebuilding the Y-axis, and we'll talk more about them as we get into it. So here's the saddle. I've just moved it onto the big bench, and it really is as heavy as it looks. So this thing is crisscrossed internally with a veritable warren of lubrication drillings, oil drillings, and some time ago now I had to make these new lubrication nipples for it because there were right angle ones in there, but they'd broken off. So I machined up these square blocks with a round portion on them that were then fitted into there with the Loctite that we used yesterday. I'll just have I can't remember the name of it now. It's what was it called, the one we used yesterday to do the AA307, that was it. So they're fitted in there with AA307, same as I used for that lubrication pipe in the Z gears. So here we've got the two studs that the clamps fit onto. The hole here, this large hole here, is for the lead nut to fit through. Then we've got two smaller holes here which aren't shown on the drawing, and I'll tell you what they're for in a minute, but I'll show you how the lead nut fits in using the old one. I say the old one because you might remember I got a new old stock lead screw and nut because this one was really worn, so that fits in there. And then if I'll turn it over in a minute, and you'll see the top hat where the bolt goes through that secures this in position. So there's another set of lubrication nipples on the top there. I think I'm going to go over this again actually, just with a stone, and just make sure everything's okay with the ways. So it sits on a V way and a flat way, like everything else on this machine does, apart from the Z-axis with the two V ways. So I'll flip this onto its front now, and I'll show you what we've got here. So let's bring the camera around, handheld. So usual disclaimer, there's the top hat bush that I spoke about where the bolt goes through into the lead nut, and then we've got these two grub screws here which are threaded into the top side of those two holes that I showed you underneath. And what they are for is they press down on two springs which then bear against the cover plate, which goes over the top of the rectangular shaped hole where the Z lead screw gears are. Couldn't get my words out then. This part here covers over some of the oil ways. There's another oil way down here. It's hard to see. I'll try and get it in a better position for you, but basically down there is an oil drilling which communicates with this channel, and that then the oil runs down this channel into a little hole here, which then goes down into a hole in the lead nut and lubricates the threads of the lead nut. And that's how that works. Obviously again, for the X-axis you've actually got a flat and a V-way, but we'll get into that when we come to reassembling the X-axis. There's various drillings in this thing, like I said, for the lubrication drillings or lubrication channels inside it, and I had to take all this completely to pieces, and it took me a long time with the air line, the blowgun, pipe cleaners, solvent, everything I could think of really to get all of the grease out of this. It took a very long time to do that. This is where the limit switch fits on here, and that bore there runs through all the way out to the back, and there's a fitting on there for a cable to come out and go to the control unit or the control box. And there was a stop fitted on here as well, and this is obviously where the weight wipers go. Yeah, so that is the saddle. So turning our attentions again to the Z-axis or the knee, you can see that we've got this cover plate that fits in, and that slides backwards and forwards with the lead nut, and it covers up this cutout so it prevents swarf and dirt getting into there. It didn't do a very good job because it was full of all kinds of detritus, so it must have got down there somehow, but that's the idea of it anyway. And it's got this slot cut out in it here. The idea is that the nut fits in like that, and then as the saddle moves back and forth, the nut goes and takes this, or as the nut moves, the saddle moves, and the nut takes this cover with it. So it moves along with the saddle and prevents dirt from getting down into there. Now, I spoke about how we've got a new lead screw and a new nut, and that does need some work doing to it. So I will show you that now. We'll go over to the mill drill. Okay, so we've got the new old stock, I ought to say, lead nut set up in the mill vise. Now, it was a bit tricky to get this in here square because it's a casting, as you saw from the other one, the old one. It's not a perfect casting. Well, no casting is, I suppose. It had sloping sides and it's a bit irregular, but with some packing and a bit of judicial tippy-tappy with my new favorite hammer, I've got it. I've got everything nice and square, and this hole is parallel to the axis of the machine, and everything's set up ready. Now, ready for what, you ask? Well, when I got this, I discovered that this hole here that should have quarter 20 or quarter UNC thread in it has got nothing in it. It's just been bored to the tap drill size for quarter UNC, which is in metric that's 5.1, so about 0.2 of an inch. And also this hole here, which is 3/32, mixing my metric and imperial. I'm a Brit, it's what we do, and I'm not going to apologise for it. So what's that, about 94 thou, or 2.3 millimeters if you prefer. So that doesn't go all the way through to the threads inside the nut either. It only goes through partially. So basically we need to put a quarter UNC thread into here, and we need to drill this all the way through till it breaks through into the threads inside the nut. And then I'll just put a little chamfer on both of these. So I used a center in the machine spindle to get this centered up over the machine spindle, and I've got a piece of, as you can see here, just a piece of welding rod. It's an aluminium welding rod, TIG rod in there, just to make sure it sits nice and bonny in the vise. So I'll get the camera set up so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll get this thread put into here, and we'll then drill this hole through. Okay, we're ready to go. I've got the taper tap in. Just to begin with, I'm keeping a little bit of load on using the quill. Once we get it started with the taper tap, I'll take the load off. We'll get this through, and then I'll go in with the plug tap. I think that's good now. I think I can take that off now. Yep, we've got it going. So once we get this done, we'll be moving on to putting a little chamfer on, and then we'll drill that hole through. Right. So I don't think you need me to show you putting the plug tab through. You all know what that looks like, so I'll bring you back when we're drilling. Right, so I have swapped over to the drill chuck now. From the centre that was in there, we've got the 1/4 UNC thread in there now, all the way down with the plug tap. So we'll just put a little chamfer in there. There we go. That's good. And now we'll swap over to a 2.3mm drill to put this hole in for the lubrication. Right, so I've got the drill centered up over the hole by moving the x-axis. So we'll start drilling this hole. Now in a minute you're going to say to me, Carl, you're running that little drill far too slowly. But the thing is, I don't want to change the speed, because in order to do that I would probably have to raise the head, and doing that will mean that I will lose registration on the part in the vise, and it is one of the big drawbacks of these mill drills. So we'll just have to make the best of it. And this is bronze, as I'm sure you're all aware. Should have probably said that before, but anyway, here we go. Let's see how we get on. Just about to break through. Oh, bump the camera. Right, that's us through into the bore now where the thread is. Right, that's good. So that is now, once we've cleaned it up a bit, that'll be ready for us to use now. Right, so we're going to commence the y-axis rebuild now. And you can see there I've got everything I need, or more or less I think everything I need. I've got the parts that are required to put it all back together with. I've got the oil can, I've got some tools, I've also got the lead screw there. The nut is around here somewhere. I'll find it in a minute. I need that. And I've also got a little tub of grease just to put the merest smear of grease on, or the merest suggestion of a smear of grease on the bolts that hold everything together. So I'll bring the camera in a bit closer. And right, so we're going to commence by sliding the lead screw through the bore in the knee casting, so it comes into the slot. I've taken the cover plate off just for now, so we can maneuver the good old nut into position. So I just need to check the orientation that this nut needs to go in with regards to this hole here mating up to the hole in the saddle for the oil to go through. There's no point it being 180 out, because then the oil can't get to it. So I'll just check that now and then we'll crack on. Okay, so the hole needs to be facing towards us. So what I'm going to do first is slide the screw through here and thread the knot on. We'll put some oil in there in a second. Left hand thread, Carl. I've said that to myself on numerous occasions now. I wish I had a pound for the amount of times I've had to say that to myself. Right, we'll just leave that in situ there for a minute. We'll get some oil on it. Which of course is going to drip down into the bowels of the knee, but it'll drain out from my newly installed drain hole, which I spoke about last time but didn't show. Right, let's just run that back and forth a few times just to left hand thread, Carl. Again, I wonder how many times I'll do that the wrong way. We'll get to find out, won't you, in a minute. Just run that right along. just to spread the oil about. Run it back the other way. Blimey, this is thrilling viewing, isn't it? Well, it doesn't get much better than this, I'm afraid. Right, let's take that back to a more of a central location. Round about there somewhere, that'll do. And then we can put the cover plate back on. But before I do that, I'm just going to put some oil on these surfaces here and spread it around a bit, just so that that cover plate's lubricated. Put my arm right in front of the camera as well. Right. Spread it about a bit. Now then, that's a lot nicer. So that's going to sit like that. So you can see that as the nut moves, it'll take that with it. Okay. Now what we need to do is assemble the first 51102 thrust bearing onto the end of the screw. Can you see what's going on? Yes, you can. Right, so we'll get this the first race on like that. And the second one, wait a minute, that one goes on first. This is the one that goes on first. Now this is going to be a tight fit on here. I think I might have wished I'd assembled it on the bench. Now it's going. A little bit of oil, I think. Now will I need to take this off to get that? I might need to. We'll soon find out. This is going to help. Yeah, that's a bit better. That is a very good fit on there, but it's going to go. Yeah, I think I'm going to take this out and redo it all. I'll pre-assemble that to the lead screw before I actually start doing this. So I'll bring you back. So as anticipated, or as expected, it was a lot easier to fit this with the lead screw in the vise. So we're back where we sort of were to begin with now, before I had to take it all apart again. So the next thing we're going to do, now the keep has to go on soon, so we're going to assemble the other part of the thrust bearing into the keep, and then we'll slide the keep on and we'll bolt it up with just the merest brief suggestion of grease on the bolt threads. So here is the keep. Let me just see if you can see. You can. So we'll put the outer race in there. We'll put a bit of oil in on the outer race, and then we'll put the actual ball race itself, the ball cage, in there with some oil. Move my hand out the way so you can see what I'm doing. Right, now get the bolts ready. So here are the bolts. I'm just going to put, as I said before, just a glimmer of a suggestion of grease on the threads where they enter the tapped holes in the knee casting. That's one, and that's the next one. Right, so let's get this grease out of the way. We'll slide the keep in place now, so that the ball cage engages with the inner race. I'll tell you what, that's not very good, is it? Let's put a bit of oil on there first, because that's going to go into the bronze bush that's inside here. Right. Now then, try and hold that in place. That's pretty nice. Right, there we are. Okay, let's get the bolts in with the glimmer of grease on them. That's that one started. And that's that one started. Right, let me get me 3/16 rather, socketed Allen key. And we'll do that up. Just want to check this alignment. That's pretty nice actually. Try and keep my hands out of the way so you can actually see what I'm doing. Feels good. Give it a nip. Give this one a nip. Right, that's good. That's interesting because that's sitting rather strangely. I think that should be the other way around. Let's have a look and see. This way around. Yeah, it needs to be that way around. Right. You learn something new every day, don't you? Certainly do with this thing anyway. It's a bit more oil, I think, on there. Oh yeah. Do you know what? I think I might just need to graze a file over that edge there. So I'll bring you back when I've done that. Right, that was definitely required because that now moves nice and freely. Okay, so what we need to do now is the next thrust bearing onto there, which is here. Now hopefully it should be a lot easier to slide the inner race on this time because it doesn't have to go on as far. Right, here we go. Right, that's it on. Then the next thing that goes on is the micrometer dial, and that acts as the keep, if you like, for the outer thrust bearing, and it's got this splined bush in it which fits onto the shaft like that, and then that goes over there, and that splined bush is what the brass dogs and springs and grub screws that go into here, they bear against this and give it the friction that it needs to stay put when you're setting your micrometer dial. Right, so we will assemble the rest of the thrust bearing into here, or pre-assemble it. So that part, the outer race sits in there. Get some oil onto it, like that. We'll put the ball cage in. we will put a bit of oil on the ball cage, like that. Right, let's assemble this now. So that should slide over the splined bush. Wait a minute. We have to put the bush in first, because that won't go through the bearing, of course, because that backs up the bearing. Right. Come on now, Carl. You can do it. Tell you what, let's put that on first. Engage that with the thrust bearing. Then we'll slide the bush on. There we go, that's better. That's it. That's the bunny. Now when the handle goes on, the hand wheel, I ought to say, really. The hand wheel is what gives the preload to that bearing assembly in there, those two bearings, thrust bearings. So what I want to do, actually, I think I might put the hand wheel on first and then do the friction dogs and the springs in there. So let's get the hand wheel and the nut and washer. I've actually got them already, they're here. Simmons nut and the washer. That's a 9/16 UNC. And I've got the socket for that. Right, let's get the hand wheel. Just talk amongst yourselves while I trip over everything in the workshop getting the hand wheel. I'll bring the hand wheel and with 0 personal injury, so that's always a good thing, isn't it? There's the hand wheel. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to put a little bit of oil on there. Just on those splines. I'll put this on. Just to ease it on. Right, that's it. Now the washer. Can you see what I'm doing? Oh, just about. I'm going to move you back a little bit. That's it. Apologies for the weird bumpy camera movements. Right, there's the washer. Now, just the merest suggestion of a glimmer of grease on those threads. There we are. Now the nut. Feels good doing all this, putting it all back together again. Spent so long stripping things down that actually putting it back together again is really good. Right, so 9/16 socket, ratchet, on it goes. So as I said, the preload of those bearings, that feels good. So the movement of this, of the micrometer dial there, is because of the bush in there, which is actually the thing that's setting the preload, isn't it? Or is it? No, it isn't, because that bush inside there is bearing against the outer race of the thrust bearing, so that is actually the nut that's setting the preload. Right, just going to back that off a fraction just to see what difference it makes. That feels good. That's good. I'm going to leave it like that, at least for the time being. Right, so now we can put the friction dogs inside the micrometer dial. Let me see what you can see. Yeah, you can see it. Right, here we go. So squirt some oil down first. Just a couple of drops. Here is the dog. Can you see that? I really don't want to drop it. Yes, you can. Right, I've got a small pick here, which last time I found helped enormously. So that's the dog in position. Now the spring, which does have a tendency to get caught on the thread sometimes, but no, it's gone in nicely. There we are. Right, the spring's in. Excuse me, now the grub screw. Right, so what I'll do is, where's my ratchet handle? I'll take the socket off there. I'll put the, it's the wrong size, isn't it? Of course it is. It's not 3/16, it is, in fact, let's get the right one for toolkit. 5/32, there we go, look at that. So what I can do is I'll press down on that spring and start that. Now if I remember rightly, it was when it was just flush that the friction was good. Yeah, which it is. Let me just give that another nip. It's almost too much. That's quite sensitive, yeah. Okay. Yeah, right, let's get the other one in now. So that's 90 round from it, more or less. Little drop of oil in there. Then we'll put the dog in, which is now in. Then the spring. And then finally the grub screw, the 5/32 Allen key. So we'll do that up till it's just flush. About there. Yeah, that's really good. That feels good. That's staying put, and it's just got that nice friction to it. Yeah, I like that. I like it a lot. Now, the knob from the handle is missing, or the hand wheel. The handle for the hand wheel isn't fitted because my brother still has it. Retro Mechanica. He straightened it for me, as I said before, using his oxypropane. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with that. That looks nice. The next thing to do will be to lift the saddle onto the ways. Well, we'll take all the tape off the ways first. Just give the ways a check, make sure they're looking nice and clean and no nicks or damage, which I don't expect there to be because I've already cleaned them and stoned them. But we'll check them again anyway. I also want to check the ways on the saddle and just give the saddle a once over because it's a long time ago since I cleaned it all up. So I just want to give it another once over. But I'm really pleased with how that's moving. I would have expected that actually to that slot to engage with that, but it doesn't. But anyway, we'll see what happens. We may have to look into that, but you never know. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, that's really nice. Right, final move. I'm going to get the 9/32 socket off the toolkit, put the lubrication nipple in, and I'll throw some oil in there first. Squirt carefully is what I meant to say. Why is it? I used to be able to look at a bolt or a nut or a fastener and say, oh yeah, that's a 2BA or a 3/16 or whatever. I can't do it anymore. Right, it's 5/16. It must be something to do with age. Right. Okay. Squirt a heap of oil in there. Put the nipple in. Where's me? Oh, there it is. And then the other thing you do now is you pick a socket up like that, you put it down, then you can't find it again. What's that all about? Right, let's nip this up. Okay, that's good. Oil's gone on the floor. Dear me. That's no good, is it? Right. Okay, right, I'm going to fiddle about with this now to my heart's content. And you don't need to see that. So I'll turn you off. Well, I definitely feel like we've reached a good point to call it now, so I'm going to do that, and I will continue the rebuild of the Y-axis, putting the saddle on and all the other bits and pieces in the next video, which will be Harrison Resto 24. So it only remains for me to say now, thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching this video. If you've liked what you've seen, give me a like, and please, if you do like it, please consider subscribing, because quite a lot of people that watch my films aren't subscribed. So it doesn't cost you anything, and I won't trouble your inbox with weekly videos. That's not how I work. I just don't have the time to post as frequently as that. So I've got a little bit more time now, it has to be said. However, please do subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.